Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sandubhya Evacha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. So some few points from yesterday's discussions. He's
While in our presentation of Krishna consciousness, we were discussing that we should not compromise with the philosophy, because with such kind of compromised philosophy, we'll get such kind of followers only.
correct.
So we may please the minds of such followers, but will not get the people who want to practice pure devotional service. So,
in what context we discuss this?
Wherein when demigods, while telling to demigods, Lord is telling this point that a pure devotee, he doesn't, he, while as an expert physician, he gives the medicine
Right.
properly.
Yes, without compromising on the rules and regulations. Okay, fine, good. Yes, Keshan. Yes. Right, so we saw the 88th chapter of Krishna book. Why a devotee goes through so much of suffering, right? Yes. Mm. Right, it's correct. So Lord specifically gives happiness and distress in the life of devotee. Thank you. Yes, the pure devotee does not pray for personal benefit. Okay, good. Marcus?
Lord is known as Amog Leela, means his activities are spotless. So he has a perfect plan for everything. So we need not express our desires. We saw three types of prayers that Dhanyabodhika also mean
Samprathanatmika.
Sampratnatmika.
Hmm.
We can just pray for devotion and express our humility.
Right. Okay, good. Thank you. Vaishnava is one who's non-envious. Right. So you read those two purports? 7, 5, 12, 10, 13, 60. Anybody had some time? Everyone is so busy. Okay, so good. Reading in the association is good. These two purports are very wonderful purports, especially for devotees. Srila Prabhupada is giving some nice instructions. The 10th canto verse is, I think, the second last verse which Srila Prabhupada has given purports to. The 13th chapter is the last chapter. Srila Prabhupada gave purports. And within that chapter, this is almost the last verse. That chapter has 61 or 62 verses. Huh? 64. So almost. So Srila Prabhupada is in Vrindavan. To his final days, we have seen the video. Srila Prabhupada is lying down. And Srila Prabhupada is dictating his purports. And yet we can see, even in that condition, Srila Prabhupada is fully meditating on Vrindavan. And in that wonderful meditation, Srila Prabhupada is giving this purport. Okay, so anyway, we'll begin with this. This is Prahlad Maharaj's teachings. Okay, go down. Okay, we'll read the translation and then we'll go to the last paragraph of the purport, which is important. Okay, somebody read.
When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a Pandita and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another.
So here in the translation itself, just go to the verse. Right. So yadanu bratah pumsam pashu buddhir vividyate. So this pashu buddhi, the material consciousness, that is what goes away when the Supreme Lord is pleased. Okay, go ahead. So this is a very important point because we are all trying to rise above the bodily consciousness, right? We all hope to rise above the bodily consciousness and come to the soul platform. So in order to come to that consciousness, it is not possible by our own efforts. The Supreme Lord has to be pleased. Then we can get the realization. Theoretically, we all know. But to get the realization and to give up the Pashubuddhi. Pashubuddhi means what? Seeing on the bodily platform. Sa eva ghokara. Same thing. Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridatuki. So they're also same thing. So on the bodily platform, then one makes distinctions. This is friend, this is enemy. I'll show partiality to this person. I will not favor this person. So all this is on the bodily platform. And that's what Prahlad Maharaj says. This is what Shanda and Amarka are teaching. I don't want all this nonsense. So this is bodily platform. What people commonly say as politics. Prahlad Maharaj didn't want to take part in this politics. Politics means this only, bodily platform. Then one sees friends, enemies, divide, rule, all this. Skin disease. But in order to get this realization, what is required is the grace of the Supreme Lord. Then Gyan will turn into Vigyan. So Gyan turns into Vigyan by the grace of the Lord coming through the pure devotee. In some other class, maybe we refer to this. Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, 29th verse. Famous verse which is talking about how the knowledge of the soul is Ashcharyavat. So, in the last paragraph of that purport, Srila Prabhupada is describing that how the knowledge of the soul, even though one may hear about it, read about it, but still very difficult to understand. And therefore, he says there are 3 steps in order to actually realize this knowledge. What are 3 steps? First one is accept knowledge of Bhagavad Gita as it is, without interpretation. That's the first step. Second step is some tapasya. Some tapasya is required. So therefore, some tapasya has been recommended. And third step is, most important, the causeless mercy of the pure devotee. This is the way one can actually realize this knowledge. And that's the same point here. So when the Supreme Lord is pleased, because of the devotional service rendered by the living entity, then one actually becomes Pandita. As Srila Prabhupada says, not so-called Pandita with a 2 paisa thread and pulling tela. Not that type of Pandit. But Pandita who has actually realized knowledge of the Shastra. Then he does not make distinction between friends and enemies. He understands everyone is Atma and everyone has only one designation, and that is Krishnero Nityadas. Then we see on the soul platform. Okay, go to the purport. थोड़ा ऊपर, last paragraph. Read from here.
Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another service to the Lord and not be proud of his own service. This is a way of Vaishnava thinking, Vaikuntha thinking. There may be rivalries and apparent competition between servants in performing service, but in the Vaikuntha planets, the service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikuntha competition. There is no question of enmity between servants. Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability, and everyone should appreciate the service of others. Such are the activities of Vaikuntha. Since everyone is a servant, everyone is on the same platform and is allowed to serve the Lord according to his ability, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sanivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, giving dictation according to the attitude of the servant. However, the Lord gives different dictation to the non-devotees and devotees. The non-devotees challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord dictates in such a way that the non-devotees forget the Lord's service life after life and are punished by the laws of nature. But when a devotee very sincerely wants to render service to the Lord dictates in a different way. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tesam satata yuktanam vachatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upyantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Everyone is actually a servant, not an enemy or friend. And everyone is working under different directions from the Lord, who directs each living entity according to his mentality.
Yes. So, of course, so much can be discussed on what has been spoken here. But the essential point is what? The essential point is that ultimately everyone is servants. Das. Everyone is servants. And so therefore, everyone is allowed to render service according to his capacity. Therefore, among servants, there is no one superior, there is no one inferior. Everyone is servants. Everyone is rendering service according to his ability, according to his capacity. So therefore, even though somebody may be a guru, what does the guru think? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had said, when Das owes me. So he is also rendering service. So ultimately, everyone is rendering service. And therefore, there is no one superior, no one inferior. If we have this attitude, then we'll be saved from both superiority complex and inferiority complex. Both are problem. And both arise from bodily platform. So I think I am inferior because I think, oh, that person is getting so much name, fame, this, that. Then I think I'm inferior. No. It does not depend on any external qualification. The Lord is pleased by one's. Just go a little bit. Oh, wait. But when a devotee very sincerely wants to render service to the Lord dictates. Before that. And how, just a second. And how the Lord gives, no, before that. So giving dictation according to the attitude of the servants. So Lord gives dictation to whom? When a devotee very sincerely wants to render service. So it doesn't matter which service. Whatever service is given, if a devotee very sincerely wants to render service with the right attitude, that is what is important. So the right attitude, service attitude. So if one has a right service attitude to please Guru and Krishna through one's service, what will be the service? If one has that attitude, then the Lord will give dictation. Dadami buddhi yogam. So it does not matter which service. One must sincerely render that service according to one's capacity. And so then, Prabhupada is saying, every devotee must praise another's service, appreciate other's service, and not boast about one's own service. Appreciate others' service. Everyone is rendering service according to their capacity. This is called Vaikunta. So the service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikunta competition. So there can be, Prabhupada says, there may be apparent rivalries. Where is that? There is no question of enmity. First he says this is the way of Vaishnav thinking, Vaikunta thinking. Everyone should praise another service, not be proud of his own service. This is the way of Vaishnav thinking, Vaikunta. There may be rivalries, apparent competitions between servants in performing service, but in the Vaikunta plan, service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikunta competition. So what is the difference between Vaikunta competition and material competition? Yes, so the Vaikunta competition is essentially meant to please the Lord. And the material competition? Yes, to please oneself. Some other differences? Vaikunta competition, material competition. What is the fundamental difference? This is the subject matter of what we're discussing. Okay, one wants to prove, that's material competition. One wants to prove I'm better servant, yes.
Case of competition, in Vaikunta competition, one wants to improve his own service for the pleasure of the Lord. But in material competition, one wants to pull others down.
Yes, good. So yes, so in Vaikunta competition, one wants to improve one's own service and also inspire others to improve their services. That is Vaikunta. In material competition, pulling down others.
In Vaikuntha competition, people are happy and satisfied.
And
in material, whatever the achievement, they will always be remain unsatisfied. And
yes, good point. Yes. So in Vaikuntha competition, there will be satisfaction because the Lord is pleased. Material competition, there will be so much of frustration, so much of envy, So all these problems in material competition. So the root main difference between the two is what? Envy. That is the main difference. So when there is no envy, no problem. Then everyone is happy with other service, appreciating other services. So there's no problem. But when the competition turns out to be on the material platform, why he is going above? Why he has more facilities? I should have. Then so many problems. When envy comes into the picture, so many problems. Then try to pull the other person down, do this, do that, creates a whole disgusting situation for everyone. So, this is the difference. There is no question of enmity between servants. Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability, and everyone should appreciate the service. Twice Prabhupada has written this. Here also, everyone should praise another service, and again, yes, everyone should appreciate the service of others. Such are the activities of Vaikuntha. Since everyone is a servant, everyone is on the same platform, allowed to serve the Lord according to his ability. And then when one renders service according to one's ability, with the right attitude and sincerely, without material motives. So if one has the proper attitude, renders service, whatever service is allotted, then Krishna is pleased, then Krishna will give intelligence, dictation from within, how to proceed in one's service and how to achieve the Lord. So these are the symptoms of Vaikuntha. So if we try to imbibe these qualities, then that's how we'll make progress, and that's how we can live peacefully. Otherwise, problem for oneself, problem for others. So as we progress in devotional service, we should try to imbibe these qualities. That is what we have to work on to bring about that transformation. Not that we simply go on with one's conditioned natures. Jo hai, wo hai, sab theek hai. Now that's, a devotee is always trying to improve, especially one's consciousness. Okay, let's go to the other purport. Yatra naisarga durvaira sahasan mrigadayah mitrani vajita vasa druta ruttarshakadikam. Read.
Vrindavan is the transcendental abode of the Lord, where there is no hunger, anger, or thirst. Though naturally inimical, both human beings and fierce animals live there together in transcendental friendship. The word vana means forest. We are afraid of the forest and do not wish to go there. But in Vrindavan, the forest animals are as good as demigods, for they have no envy. Even in this material world, in the forest, the animals live together, and when they go to drink water, they do not attack anyone. Envy develops because of sense gratification, but in Vrindavan, there is no sense gratification, for the only aim is Krishna's satisfaction. Even in this material world, the animals in Vrindavan are not envious of the sadhus who live there. The sadhus keep cows and supply milk to the tigers, saying, "Come here and take a little milk." Thus, envy and malice are unknown in Vrindavan. That is the difference between Vrindavan and the ordinary world. We are horrified to hear the name of Vana, the forest, but in Vrindavan there is no such horror. Everyone there is happy by pleasing Krishna. Krishnot Kirtan Gan Nartana Parau. Whether a Goswami or a tiger or other ferocious animal, everyone's business is the same. To please Krishna, even the tigers are also devotees. This is the specific qualification of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, everyone is happy. The calf is happy, the cat is happy, the dog is happy, and man is happy. Everyone. Everyone wants to serve Krishna in a different capacity, and thus there is no envy. One may sometimes think that the monkeys in Vrindavan are envious because they cause mischief and steal food. But in Vrindavan, we find that the monkeys are allowed to take butter, which Krishna himself distributes. Krishna personally demonstrates that everyone has the right to live. This is Vrindavan life. Why should I live and you die? No, that is material life. The inhabitants of Vrindavan thinks, whatever is given by Krishna, let us divide it as prasad and eat. This mentality cannot appear all of a sudden, but it will gradually develop with Krishna consciousness. By sadhana, one can come to this platform. In the material world, one may collect funds all over the world in order to distribute food freely. Yet those to whom the food is given may not even feel appreciative. The value of Krishna consciousness, however, will gradually be very much appreciated. For instance, in an article about the temple of the Hare Krishna movement in Durban, South Africa, the Durban Post reported, all the devotees here are very active in the service of the Lord Krishna, and the results are obvious to see: happiness, good health, peace of mind, and the development of all good qualities. This is the nature of Vrindavan. Harav abhaktasya kuto mahadguna. Without Krishna consciousness, happiness is impossible. One may struggle, but one cannot have happiness. We are therefore trying to give human society the opportunity for a life of happiness, a good health, peace of mind, and all good qualities through God consciousness.
Beautiful purport. So here Prabhupada is saying, what is the cause of envy? Sense gratification. So when we're attached to sense gratification, I have less sense gratification, he has more sense gratification, envy. That is the root cause. But in Vrindavan, there is no envy. Everyone is happy with what Krishna has given, and everyone is happy serving Krishna. And towards the end, Prabhupada said, and how can we come to this platform? Through sadhana. Krishna conscious sadhana. So that's how one will get purified of all these anarthas, and that's how one will develop all the good qualities. And even the outside people have noted that the devotees have happiness, good health, peace of mind, and good qualities. So this will be the result of Krishna consciousness. And so therefore, it's very important that we try to develop these qualities by good sadhana. The purification has to take place. If the purification doesn't take place, all the anarthas remain, the problems will remain. So, therefore, the purification has to take place by the good sadhana. So, at least whatever Srila Prabhupada has told us to do, at least that much we must try to do with good quality. So 16 rounds of chanting, hearing Bhagavatam. So at least this minimum what Srila Prabhupada has given, we should try to do with good quality so that purification takes place. Otherwise, years will pass, but purification doesn't take place. And then even after many years, the expected transformation may not take place. And then people wonder Oh, such a senior devotee, so many years passed, but still, why the good behavior is not seen? So the transformation takes place by how one takes the medicine. Okay, so fine. So in this way, we see that Dadichi gave up his body, and Indra took those bones, and Vishwakarma made Vajra thunderbolts. Indra was very happy, and he took his Vajra and declared war against the Asuras. Okay, now let's go ahead. So chapter 10, text 15. My dear King Parikshit, as Rudra being very angry at Antaka, Yamaraj had formerly run towards Antaka to kill him. I don't know this pastime, so, and I don't think the Acharyas also have commented on this. So Indra angrily and with great force attacked Vritrasur, who was surrounded by the leaders of the demoniac armies. Text 16. Thereafter, at the end of Satyuga and the beginning of Treta Yuga, so this is the time when this battle is taking place, a fierce battle took place between the demigods and the demons on the bank of Narmada. Prabhupada writes, like the Ganges River, the Narmada River also flows in the higher planetary systems. The battle between demigods and demons took place in the higher planets. Prabhupada is talking about the duration of the various yugas. Okay, so now there is some description of the battle. We'll go through quickly. Please read.
O king, when all the Asuras came onto the battlefield headed by Vritrasura, they saw King Indra carrying the thunderbolt and surrounded by the Rudras, Vasus, Adityas, Aswini Kumaras, Pitas, Bhanis, Maruts, Ribhus, Sadhyas, and Vishwadevas. Surrounded by his company, Indra shone so brightly that his effulgence was intolerable to the demons. Many hundreds and thousands of demons, demi-demons, yakshas, rakshasas, man-eaters, and others, headed by Sumali and Mali, resisted the armies of King Indra, which even death personified cannot easily overcome. Among the demons were Namuchi, Sambara, Anarva, Dimurdha, Rishabha, Asura, Hayagriva, Sankusira, Viprachitti, Ayomukha, Puloma, Vrishaparva, Praheti, Heti, and Utkala. Roaring tumultuously and fearlessly like lions, these invincible demons, all dressed in golden ornaments, gave pain to the demigods with weapons like clubs, bludgeons, arrows, barbed darts, mallets, and lances.
Armed with lances, tridents, excess swords, and other weapons like Shatagnis and Bushundis, the demons attacked from different directions and scattered all the chiefs of demigod armies. As the stars in the sky cannot be seen when covered by dense clouds, the demigods, being completely covered by the networks of arrows falling upon them one after another, could not be seen.
The showers of various weapons and arrows released to kill the soldiers of the demigods did not reach them because the demigods, acting quickly, cut the weapons into thousands of pieces in the sky. As their weapons and mantras decreased, the demons began showering mountain peaks, trees, and stones upon the demigod soldiers. But the demigods were so powerful and expert that they nullified all these weapons by breaking them into pieces in the sky as before.
When the soldier of the demons, commanded by Vitrasur, saw that the soldiers of the king Indra were quite well, having not been injured, as at all their volleys of weapons, not even by the trees, stones, and mountain peaks, the demon were very much afraid. When insignificant person use rough words to cause false angry accusations against saintly persons, their fruitless words do not disturb the great personalities. Similarly, all efforts of the demons against the demigods who were favorably situated under the protection of Krishna were futile.
So even though the demons, they were abusing the demigods and doing all that, But the demigods have the protection of the Supreme Lord, so they could not do anything. Prabhupada quotes Bengali saying, if a vulture curses a cow to die, the curse will not be effective. Similarly, accusations made by demoniac persons against devotees of Krishna cannot have any effects. The demigods are devotees of Lord Krishna, and therefore the curses of the demons were futile. Next.
The asuras, who are never devotees of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, lost their pride in fighting when they found all their endeavors futile. Leaving aside their leader, even in the very beginning of the fight, they decided to flee because all their prowess had been taken away by the enemy. Seeing his army broken and all the asuras, even those known as great heroes, fleeing the battlefield out of intense fear, Vritrasura, who was truly a great minded hero, smiled and spoke the following words.
According to his position and the time and circumstances, Vritasur, the hero among heroes, spoke words that were much to be appreciated by thoughtful men. He called to the heroes of the demons, O Viprachitti, O Namuchi, O Puloma, O Maya, Anarva, Sambara, please hear me and do not flee. Vritasur said, all living entities who have taken birth in this material world must die. Surely no one in this world has found any means to be saved from death. Even Providence has not provided a means to escape it. Under the circumstances, that death being inevitable, if one can gain promotion to the higher planetary systems and be always celebrated here by doing a suitable death, by dying a suitable death, what man will not accept such a glorious death?
Okay, so Vritarasura is now speaking philosophy to the demons who are fleeing away in fear of the devatas. Jatasya mrityur dhruva eva sarvatah pratikriya yasya na cheha klipta loko yashas chatha tato yadihi amum ko nama mrityum na vrinita yuktam. So just like in Bhagavad Gita also, Jatasya hi dhruva mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. So he's saying death is surely going to come. So why should one flee from the battle? Better is one perform one's duty, and if one dies on the battlefield, at least one will gain the heavenly planets. What will one gain by fleeing from the battlefields? So as Prabhupada says, if by dying one can be elevated to the high planetary systems and be ever famous after his death, who is so foolish that he will refuse such a glorious death? Similar advice was given also by Krishna to Arjuna. That was one of the arguments which Krishna gives. Okay, next.
There are two ways to meet a glorious death, and both are very rare. One is to die after performing mystic yoga, especially Bhakti yoga, by which one can control the mind and living force and die absorbed in the thought of Supreme Personality of Godhead. The second is to die on the battlefield, leading the army and never showing one's back. These two kinds of death are recommended in Shastra as glorious.
Okay, so these are two types of glorious death. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 6th canto, 10th chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Battle Between Demigods and Vritrasur. Chapter 11, The Transcendental Qualities of Vritrasur. So this is an important chapter. Okay, continue reading.
Sri Sukdev Goswami said, O King, Vritrasur, the commander-in-chief of the demons, advised his lieutenants in the principles of religion, but the cowardly demoniac commanders, intent upon fleeing the battlefield, were so disturbed by fear that they could not accept his words.
Next.
O King Parikshit, the demigods, taking advantage of a favorable opportunity presented by time, attacked the army of the demons from the rear and began driving away the demoniac soldiers, scattering them here and there as if their army had no leader. Seeing the pitiable condition of his soldiers, Vritrasur, the best of the asuras, who was called Indra Satru, the enemy of Indra, was very much aggrieved. Unable to tolerate such reverses, he stopped and forcefully rebuked the demigods, speaking the following words in an angry mood.
Okay, so these devatas are also useless. They are attacking from behind. These people are running, they are useless, and Devatas are attacking from behind, they are also useless. So therefore, Vritarasura is chastising both of them now. Okay, so text 4, let's recite. Kim va uchriter matur dvavadbhi prishito hate nahi bhitavadha shlagyo na svargya suramaninam.
O demigods, these demoniac soldiers have taken birth uselessly. Indeed, they have come from the bodies of their mothers exactly like stool. What is the benefit of killing such enemies from behind while they are running in fear? One who considers himself a hero should not kill an enemy who is afraid of losing his life. Such killing is never glorious, nor can it promote one to the heavenly planets.
Okay, so he's chastising both of them because both of them are not doing their duty according to dharma. Correct. They're Kshatriyas. So Kshatriyas are not supposed to run away from battle, nor are Kshatriyas supposed to attack from behind. So both of them are not following the principles of dharma. Therefore, Vritarasura is chastising both of them. Vritarasura rebuked both the demigods and the demoniac soldiers because demons were running in fear of lives and demigods were killing them from behind. The action of both were abominable. When a fight takes place, the opposing parties must be prepared to fight like heroes. Hero never runs from the field of battle. He always fights face to face, determined to gain victory or lay down his life in the fight. That is heroic. Killing an enemy from behind is also inglorious. When an enemy turns his back and runs in fear of his life, he should not be killed. This is the etiquette of military science. And then he's describing Vritarasura insulted the demoniac soldiers by comparing them to the stool of their mothers. Both stool and a cowardly son come from the abdomen of the mother, and Vritarasura said there is no difference between them. Similar comparison was given by Tulsidas, who commented that a son and urine, putra and mutra, both come from the same channel. In other words, semen and urine both come from the genitals, but semen produces a child, whereas urine produces nothing. Therefore, if a child is neither a hero nor a devotee, he is not a son but urine. Similarly, Chanakya Pandit also says, Ko artha putrena jatina yona vidvan na dharmika kanena chakshusha kimva chakshu pidaiva kevalam. What is the use of a son who is neither glorious nor devoted to the Lord? Such a son is like a blind eye which simply gives pain but cannot help one see. Text 5. Yadeva pradane shraddha saram va shulakaridhi agre tishtata matram me na chet gramya sukhe spriha.
O insignificant demigods, if you truly have faith in your heroism, if you have patience in the course of your hearts, and if you are not ambitious for sense gratification, please stand before me for a moment.
So here, there are three important conditions he is putting forth. What are they? Faith. First is faith in your heroism. Second is patience. Proper translates saram as patience. In the core of the heart. And na chet gramya sukhe spriha. No desire for sense gratification. Gramya sukh. So, these three are important qualities necessary for one to perform one's duty. So that is why he is saying, if you have these three qualities, then you will be able to perform duty and fight. So first of all, faith, one should have faith. Here he is talking about faith in one's own heroism. But ultimately, faith in one's heroism or faith in one's own abilities is based on what? How will one develop that faith? This is Krishna's hand, correct? How will one have faith in one's own abilities? Good. When one understands that I am simply instrument, that is the whole sum and substance of Markine Bhagavad Dharma. Srila Prabhupada he has full faith on what? Yes, he has faith in the Lord's holy name and the instruction of his spiritual master, and he is simply depending on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada's faith came from his dependence on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So when one understands Balam balavatam chaham, tejas tejas vinamaham, buddhir buddhimatam asmi. So whatever intelligence, whatever abilities I have, everything has been given by Krishna. So therefore, it is said, humility is courage. It looks like a contradiction, isn't it? But this is a saying of the outside people, not just devotees. Humility is courage. Why? Same principle. So when one is actually humble, he doesn't depend on his own abilities. Rather, he understands that his abilities are a mercy of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, he gets the courage from the Supreme Lord. But one who is not humble, he thinks, I will be able to do. Then when he thinks, I will be able to do, then one has very limited courage, because he's always thinking, what can I do? Maybe I'll win, maybe I'll fail. So when one depends on one's own abilities, without seeing those abilities in connection to the Supreme Lord, then one's confidence is very low. But we find Srila Prabhupada, on one hand, he is saying, Bhakti nahi Veda nahi. So he is accepting that I am not qualified. Before that he says, I do not have the words to convince these people. But at the same time, he has full confidence in the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And therefore we find Srila Prabhupada, even at that age, so bold, so courageous. Why? Because of the dependence on the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada gives a simple example, or rather, an incident from his own life. He says, just like a small child, when the child is on the lap of the mother, the child is fearless. So we see small child is peacefully sleeping on the lap of the mother. Why? Yes, fully dependent, so no fear. So Srila Prabhupada gives one incident from his own life when he was a grihastha. So he says that, so once he and his small son, maybe 3 or 4 years old at that time, so both of them were traveling in a tram or a bus. In Calcutta there were trams, were like buses on. So both of them sat in the bus, and the conductor, just to joke, he asked the small boy, he asked, where is your ticket? So the boy said, I don't have ticket. The conductor said, get down. He was just joking, but the boy immediately said, see, my father is here. So Srila Prabhupada tells this to make the point that why the boy does not have fear? Because of dependence on the father. So therefore, commenting on Bhayam Dvitiya Bhiniveshata Syat, Acharyas give 2 examples why there is fear. So one example is the same example. When the child fears, when the child thinks that mother is not there to protect, immediately there is fear. So we see that, right? When the child does not see the mother or father, what does the child do? Starts crying. There's fear. Second example that's given is when citizens understand that government is not capable of protecting, then immediately there is fear. So similarly, when a devotee has full faith in the Supreme Lord, there is no cause of fear. He becomes fearless. And especially for those in the renounced order, Krishna himself has spoken, 16th chapter, first verse. 3 qualifications needed for those in the renounced order. What? Abhayam sattvasam shuddhir jnana yoga vyavastati. First quality is abhayam. So one in the renounced order, if he is fearful, then very difficult to remain in the renounced order. So many insecurities. What will happen in the future? What will happen in old age? This, that, so many insecurities. But devotee has full faith in the Supreme Lord. The Lord is protecting even the animals in the jungle. Why he will not protect me? That's how the devotee is fearless. So we all know the well-known pastime of Haridas Thakur and the cobra in the cave. So people who were visiting Haridas Thakur, they were fearful. But Haridas Thakur was living in the same cave. But because people were fearful, then Haridas Thakur thought of moving out. Then what happened? The cobra left. And Prabhupada explains why the cobra left. Because Paramatma is there. Paramatma is there in Haridas Thakur's heart and the cobra's heart. So, when one has faith in the protection of the Supreme Lord, in the help from the Supreme Lord, then one becomes fearless. Fearless to perform one's duty in Krishna consciousness. Yet, a healthy fear which every devotee must have is what? Fear from the material energy. That is a healthy fear. So, but then a devotee is confident to perform one's duty because he has faith in Krishna's powers, Krishna's mercy. Just reminded me, Shrutakirti Prabhu, he tells this pastime, we all know this pastime of Srila Prabhupada. In his childhood, he cried for 2 guns in 2 hands. So Shrutakirti Prabhu compares this very interestingly. He says that Srila Prabhupada, even when he grew up, he still had these 2 guns with which he preached. And the 2 guns are faith in the holy name and faith in the instructions of his spiritual master. Those were his 2 guns with which he preached very boldly. So that's Shraddha. The second one is patience. Saram va ridhi. Patience in the core of the heart. So that's another important quality in performing one's duty. As Rupa Goswami also has said, what? Utsa, Nishay, Dhairya. So what will happen if one does not have Dhairya? Give up. Why? Yes. So when there is no patience, one doubts the process. One begins to doubt the process. Is the process working? Or is it not working? Will it work? Or should I find some other process? This is what happens. So therefore, patience is required. So many times devotees ask these questions. Quite a few years passed. Why still anarthas? Very common question. But the important point is, since how long we have been in the material world? Time immemorial. And our short practices of Krishna consciousness, how much results can we expect? What is happening is already a miracle. That is what we should think. What is happening is only the causeless mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. That is how we are at least able to continue and make some progress. We should be grateful for that. And so that patience is something which is very important. If one doesn't have patience, then one will give up. So the patience is required. Results will come, but then we have to do our parts. Then gradually the results will come. One needs to have that faith in the process. Dhairya. And of course, for patience, examples. Huh? Okay, Prabhupada gives the analogy of the lady who has just got married and is very eager for a child. So she has to be patient serving the husband. That's analogy. Yes, good example of patience is Mukunda, who was ready to be patient for, yes, literally millions of years. He was patient. Yes, definitely one day I will see. Any other example? Huh? Advaita Acharya. Okay, Advaita Acharya was calling for the Lord. Okay, with patience that the Lord will definitely descend. Okay. Yes, the example of Shabari. Yes. She was told by a spiritual master, right? Who was the spiritual master? Matanga Rishi. That one day Lord Ram will come. And so she was patiently waiting. Yes, so we have examples of patience. So that patience is very important. Then if the patience is there, then one will go on enthusiastically, because definitely one day Krishna will reciprocate. So very many times devotees have this question that especially these days, spiritual masters with so many disciples, then question always is in the minds of the disciples, does my spiritual master know my service? Will he reciprocate? So there's a nice pastime, and maybe some of you have heard, pastime of Niranjan Maharaj. You heard the pastime? Okay, anyways, I'll tell. So, so Niranjan Maharaj, he was staying at the Boston temple, and the Boston temple had just got a new building, and they wanted to renovate the building and also have Srila Prabhupada's rooms in that building. But the building was an old building, it needed renovation. And Niranjan Maharaj had some background experience of construction, renovating buildings, carpentry, and so on. At that time, as most devotees in their attempts to please Srila Prabhupada were all busy in book distribution. So Niranjan Maharaj also was out somewhere on book distribution. And so the temple president called him and told him, see, we have taken this building, and Srila Prabhupada is going to come to Boston very soon. In some days, this building needs to be renovated. Can you please help? Niranjan Maharaj says, no, I'm busy with book distribution. So the temple president says, anyways, you come, we will discuss. So he comes there, and then the temple president shows him the building and shows him the proposed rooms for Srila Prabhupada. And he asks him, so would you like your spiritual master to stay in these rooms? Niranjan Maharaj says, no, the condition is very bad. Then do something about it. So then in any case, so Niranjan Maharaj, he works day and nights to renovate that building, renovate those rooms, Srila Prabhupada's rooms. And then when the rooms were almost ready, so then they had to put some Italian tiles that had come to New York. So the temple president one day tells Niranjan Maharaj that, okay, we will go to New York to get the tiles. And so the temple president is driving, Niranjan Maharaj sits to the side, and both of them are driving towards New York. And just when they were about to reach New York, the temple president, instead of going inside New York City, he takes a turn towards the New York airport. And he tells Niranjan Maharaj, actually, today we are not going to New York to get the tiles. We are going to the New York airport to receive Srila Prabhupada. And Niranjan Maharaj is very happy because even though at this point of time he was second initiated, he still had not had darshan of Srila Prabhupada's physical presence even once. So he was very eager and enthusiastic. For the first time, he's going to have direct darshan of his spiritual master. I don't think so any one of our condition is so bad, right? So they go to the airport. Niranjan Maharaj gives a whole detailed description of his first darshan of Srila Prabhupada. As Srila Prabhupada is coming down the elevator, he has this first darshan. Srila Prabhupada, so effulgent, Vaikuntha man. Srila Prabhupada comes down, and then the other experience he had is of Srila Prabhupada not walking but gliding. Many devotees say that. It appeared as if the laws of gravitation were not applying on him. And therefore, it said, Srila Prabhupada, even at that age, he would walk very fast. His 20-year-old disciples could not catch up with him. So in any case, so he has this beautiful darshan of Srila Prabhupada. No words were exchanged, only darshan. But Niranjan Maharaj was so satisfied just having that darshan of Srila Prabhupada. And then Srila Prabhupada goes in the car to New York airport, and the temple president brings him back to Boston. And then after that, so Srila Prabhupada went to New York, and then he was scheduled to go to some few other places. And after some days, he was scheduled to come to Boston. But in the meantime, Srila Prabhupada receives an invitation from the then Indian Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, because he had requested for an audience with her. And so he receives an invitation, and so Srila Prabhupada cancels his visit to Boston to go to India. You may have read in the Lilamrit, there's a description of Srila Prabhupada's very brief meeting with Indira Gandhi, and he gives her a slip of paper with some 10 qualifications required for all MPs. So in any case, so Srila Prabhupada didn't visit Boston that time. He came back. And after that, Srila Prabhupada never got a chance to visit Boston. And Srila Prabhupada never stayed in those rooms which Niranjan Maharaj had so painstakingly renovated for Srila Prabhupada. But Niranjan Maharaj's realization is, Srila Prabhupada never came to stay in the rooms, but he reciprocated with the service by giving his darshan. That was the reciprocation for the service. And therefore, the conclusion is, one should never be disappointed thinking that the spiritual master does not know my service or is not reciprocating with my service. The spiritual master 100% knows, and definitely he's going to reciprocate. It is not something on a physical platform. It is totally on a subtle spiritual platform. And the evidence for this is what Srila Prabhupada writes in his concluding words of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Srila Prabhupada completed his translations and purports to the Chaitanya Charitamrita when? There's some historical dates we should try to remember. Good, yes. It was on Rama Ekadashi, which is the first Ekadashi of Kartik. Which year? 1974. And the exact date was 10th of November, 1974. His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj, practically wherever he would be on that day, he would give a talk on this, on these concluding words which Srila Prabhupada wrote. And Giriraj Maharaj was personally present in Juhu when Srila Prabhupada actually finished the translations. And he describes this pastime, that how on that morning, Giriraj Maharaj, because Srila Prabhupada every morning he would come down for the morning walk, but that day he did not come. So Giriraj Maharaj went up to the rooms and saw that Srila Prabhupada's door was locked from inside, light was off, and the servant's room beside him, Srila Prabhupada's, also had no light. And so Giriraj Maharaj goes and knocks on the servant's door, and the servant opens the door, and Giriraj Maharaj asks him, what happened? Why Srila Prabhupada has not come for the morning walk? The servant replies, Srila Prabhupada has just finished tonight, he has just finished the translations and purports to Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he is in a state of great ecstasy. That's the reply. In any case, so Srila Prabhupada wrote his concluding words, which are so wonderful. Every devotee must read. So anyways, we don't have time to read the whole thing, but we hope that you will read. But there is one point, okay, maybe you can show. So at least that one point we will read in the context of our discussion. Just to understand this point, that how the spiritual master definitely knows what we are doing, and definitely he will reciprocate. This patience we need to have. And when we understand this Siddhanta, then we'll definitely have patience. Concluding word, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, November 10, Sunday. Sunday, November 10, 1974, corresponding to the 10th of Kartik, Chaitanya era. You see, Prabhupada is writing all these details. 11th day of the dark fortnight, it's Rama Ekadashi. We have now finished the English translation of Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in accordance with the authorized order of His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj, my beloved, eternal spiritual master, guide, and friends. Srila Prabhupada, at every moment, practically, never forgets that connection, that relationship with the spiritual master. And he perfectly understands whatever I'm doing is happening according to his instruction. And you see everywhere he puts that. Okay, so you can read the rest of very wonderful these words of Srila Prabhupada. Go down. And he gives the whole history, how he first met in 1922. Go down. Go down. Go down. Okay. Yes. I think that His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is always seeing my activities and guiding me within my heart by His words. So you see Srila Prabhupada's confidence that the spiritual master is always seeing my activities and guiding me within my heart by his words. And then he's comparing that to Tene Brahmaradaya Adi Kavaye. Spiritual inspiration comes from within the heart, wherein the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Paramatma feature is always sitting with all his devotees and associates. And amongst those devotees and associates is also the spiritual master. Right. So it is to be admitted that whatever translation work I have done is through the inspiration of my spiritual master, because personally I am most insignificant and incompetent to do this materially impossible work. I do not think myself a very learned scholar, but I have full faith. We are talking about faith, right? Shraddha. You can see Prabhupada's faith. Faith in what? In the service of my spiritual master, his divine grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If there's any credit, just see the words, if there is any credit to my activities of translating, it is all due to his divine grace. This is what we have to learn from our founder Acharya. No credit for himself. 100% all credit to spiritual master. So when one is in such consciousness, same thing, Markandeya Bhagavatam. When one is in such consciousness, then the mercy flows. Because the devotee is simply like an instrument. Then the mercy flows. Because of such humility. This is what is humility. No credit for oneself at all. So when one has such a humble disposition, then so much of mercy flows. Right. So this faith is what one needs to have. So when one has faith in the spiritual master, faith in his instructions, and one has patience because one knows that the spiritual master is there within the heart, watching everything, and it's he who gives inspiration. Then one will have patience because one has full faith. And the third qualification he says is na gramya sukhe spriha, no desire for sense gratification. So as you can see here, only desire to satisfy Guru and Krishna. So when one is in that disposition of mind, then one can perform one's service, one's duties with great enthusiasm. And therefore, here Vritrasura is saying, if you have these three qualifications, then you will perform your duty of standing here and fighting face to face, not from behind. So, these are some important words of Vritrasura. So, this entire chapter is very beautiful because we hear Vritrasura's words of wisdom and realization. Okay, please read the next one.
Shukadev Goswami said, Rutrasur, the angry and most powerful hero,
Terrified.
terrified the demigods with his stout and strongly built body. When he roared with a resounding voice, nearly all living entities fainted.
Vritrasura was angry and he roared, and the devatas were afraid. Next.
When all the demigods heard Rutrasura's
Tumultuous.
tumultuous roar, which resembled that of a lion, they fainted and fell to the ground as if struck by thunderbolts.
Yes. So Vritrasura's roar was so loud, devatas fell to the ground.
As the demigods closed their eyes in fear, Rutrasura, taking up his trident and making the earth tremble with his great strength, trampled the demigods beneath his feet on the battlefield, the way a mad elephant tramples hollow bamboos in the forest.
So he just trampled on them like elephant tramples bamboos. Next.
Seeing Rutrasura's disposition, Indra, the king of the heaven, became intolerant and threw at him one of his great clubs, which are extremely difficult to counteract. However, as the club flew toward him, Rutrasur easily caught it with his left hand.
So very easily caught it with his left hand, not even right hand.
O King Parikshit, the powerful Rutrasur, the enemy of King Indra, angrily struck the head of Indra's elephant with that club, making a tumultuous sound on the battlefield. For his heroic deed, the soldiers on both sides glorified him.
So with club of Indra only, now he smashed Indra's elephant.
Struck with the club by Rutrasur like a mountain struck by a thunderbolt, the elephant Airavat, feeling great pain and spitting blood from its broken mouth, was pushed back 14 yards. In great distress, the elephant fell with Indra on its back.
So both Indra and his elephant, both of them fell. Next.
When he saw Indra's carrier elephant thus fatigued and injured, and when he saw Indra morose because his carrier had been harmed in that way, the great soul Rutrasur, following religious principles, refrained from against striking Indra with the club. Taking this opportunity, Indra touched the elephant with his nectar producing hand, thus relieving the animal's pain and curing its injuries. Then the elephant and Indra both stood silently.
Okay, so Vritrasur followed dharma. So Indra was injured, so Vritrasur didn't attack. So he didn't attack. In the meantime, Indra, he cured his elephants, and then both of them stood. Yes, Indra has special powers, nectar producing hand. Again.
O king, when the great hero Vritrasur saw Indra, his enemy, the killer of his brother, standing before him with thunderbolt in his hand, desiring to fight. Vritrasu remembered how Indra had cruelly killed his brother. Thinking of Indra's sinful activities, he became mad with lamentation and forgetfulness. Laughing sarcastically, he spoke as follows.
Yes.
Shri Vritrasur said, "He who has killed a Brahmana, he who has killed his spiritual master, indeed, he who has killed my brother is now by good fortune standing before me face to face as my enemy. O most abominable one, when I pierce your stone-like heart with my trident, I shall be freed from my debt to my brother."
So he's remembering how Indra has killed Vishwarup. So therefore he is very angry with Indra. Next.
Only for the sake of living in the heavenly planets. You killed my elder brother, a self-realized, sinless, qualified Brahmana, who had been appointed your chief priest. He was your spiritual master, but although you entrusted him with the performance of your sacrifice, you later mercilessly severed his heads from his body, the way one butchers an animal. Indra, you are bereft of all shame, mercy, glory, and good fortune. Deprived of these good qualities by the reactions of your fruitive activities, you are to be condemned even by the man-eaters, Rakshasas. Now I shall pierce your body with my trident, and after you die, with great pain, even fire will not touch you. Only the vultures will eat your body.
You are naturally cruel. If the other demigods, unaware of my prowess, follow you by attacking me with raised weapons, I shall sever their heads with this sharp trident. With those heads, I shall perform a sacrifice to Bhairava and other leaders of the ghosts along with their hordes. But if in this battle, if you cut off my head with your thunderbolt and kill my soldiers, O Indra, O great hero, I shall take great pleasure in offering my body to other living entities, such as jackals and vultures. I shall thus be relieved of my obligation to the reactions of my karma, and my fortune will be to receive the dust from the lotus feet of great devotees like Naradaman.
So you can see how Vritrasur, so on one hand, he is very eager and enthusiastic to perform his duty of killing Indra, because he's on the opposite side. So therefore his duty is to try and kill Indra. But at the same time, he is not afraid of being killed by Indra also. He is not afraid of that also. So rather, he is saying, I would take great pleasure if my body would become food for the jackals and the vultures. So then he's saying that, so therefore he's encouraging Indra to kill him. And then he's saying, if I'm killed, I'll be relieved of all karma, and then I will get the great fortune of serving Manasvinam Padarajaha Prapatsi. I shall achieve the service of great sages like Narad Muni. So Srila Prabhupada is focusing on that point of serving the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees. Therefore, he's quoting from Narottam Das Thakur, Echai Gosayar Mui Taradas, Tanasabara Padareno Mora Panchagras. A Vaishnav always desires the dust of the lotus feet of previous acharyas and Vaishnavas. Vritrasura was certain that he would be killed in the battle with Indra because this was the desire of Lord Vishnu. He was prepared for death because he knew that after his death, he was destined to return home back to Godhead. This is a great destination. And it is achieved by the grace of a Vaishnav. Chadiya Vaishnav Seva Nistar Pai Chikeva. No one has ever gone back to Godhead without being favored by a Vaishnav. In this verse, therefore, we find the words Manasvinam Padaraja Prapatsi. I shall receive the dust of the lotus feet of great devotees. The word Manasvinam refers to great devotees who always think of Krishna. They're always peaceful, thinking of Krishna, and therefore they are called Dhira. The best example of such a devotee is Narad Muni. If one receives the dust of the lotus feet of a Manasvi, a great devotee, he certainly returns home back to Godheads. So this point has been repeated throughout the Bhagavatam, the importance of receiving the dust of the lotus feet of a great devotee, serving the lotus feet of the great devotee. So two important references, what are they? Huh? Yes, Prahlad Maharaj, what he says? Yes, Nishkinchananam. So one who's Nishkinchan. So receiving the dust of the lotus feet, serving such a devotee. Prahlad Maharaj also is very eager to serve Narad Muni. Another instance? Yes, Maharaj Raghuna and Jad Bharat. So Maharaj Raghuna also is Jad Bharat in his teachings to Maharaj Raghuna is also saying same thing, similar. Vina Mahat Padarajo Bhishekam. And we find in the Nectar of Devotion, when Srila Prabhupada describes one of the qualities of pure devotional service on the platform of Bhava Bhakti, that is Sudurlabha. So Bhava Bhakti and Shivali Prem Bhakti both are Sudurlabha, extremely rare. And of course, Acharyas are giving detailed commentaries on that and explaining that how, first of all, one cannot achieve Krishna unless one has great intensity in one's practice of devotional service. One should have great intensity. But then, even if one has great intensity in one's practice, even if one practices sadhana for a very long time, still Krishna does not give easily. Because who can force Krishna? Anybody can force? Nobody can demand, oh, I practiced bhakti for so many years. Krishna has to give me bhava and prema. Krishna will say, I am Swarat, who are you to ask? One cannot force. And Krishna does not give bhava and prema easily. Why? Yes, because then he becomes subservient to such a devotee. So Krishna doesn't do that so easily. And therefore, bhava and prema are very difficult to achieve. But it is possible, Prabhupada is writing over there, there's only one way, and that is the same principle. And there also Prabhupada quotes the same verses of Prahlad and Maharaj Raghuna. So, same thing. So, therefore, our process is one can achieve Krishna not directly but only by receiving the mercy of the Vaishnavas. That is that process. And therefore, we have to be very eager to receive the mercy of the spiritual master, the Vaishnavas, because it is only through their medium one can attract the mercy of Krishna, not directly. So if one thinks, by my own efforts I will attract mercy of Krishna, I will go to Vrindavan, Radha Kund, I will chant every day 64 rounds, I will study the Bhagavatam throughout the day, and I will become fully purified and Krishna conscious. It doesn't work that way. Everything has to be in accordance to instructions of the spiritual master, the Vaishnavas, and pleasing them. Without pleasing Guru and the Vaishnavas, it is impossible to achieve Krishna's mercy. This is the Siddhanta. We all know that, I'm sure most of us know that incident of one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples wanting to chant 64 rounds in Mayapur against the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Result was what? Yes, he left after some few months and he was seen where? In some petrol pump. He left. So what went wrong? He was chanting 64 rounds. What went wrong? Guror avagya. No mercy. Krishna is going to be least happy with somebody who does not follow the instructions of the Guru. So these days also we are finding some devotees, even though they have been initiated by bona fide spiritual masters, are leaving ISKCON, leaving the shelter of their spiritual master and going somewhere else. What a great offense. They don't realize. They can go anywhere in the universe. Will Krishna be ever pleased if one leaves one's bona fide spiritual master? No question. But these days we are finding ignorance of the Siddhanta. Some devotees are doing these things. So therefore, we have to be very clear about this principle. Without pleasing the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, it's not possible to attract the grace of Krishna. It's not dependent on one's own efforts, on one's own sadhana. The sadhana and the service both should attract the grace of Guru and the Vaishnavas. Then Krishna will be pleased. Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasad. On one's own, whimsically, one can do any amount of sadhana and any amount of service. But if Guru and Krishna are not pleased, what is the use? It will not have any benefit. So I think so in some classes I've told this pastime of Indradum Maharaj. You have heard? Okay. So as long as Indradum Maharaj tells this pastime, his own experience, he was telling in a class in Vrindavan, which he just last year. So Srila Prabhupada, along with his secretary, servant, and Indradum Maharaj, all of them came from US. They came to London for a very historical event in London. You know what? The installation of Sri Sri Radha Londoneshwar. Historical event in the history of Vaishnavism. For the first time in the Western world, Radha Krishna deity is being installed. So Srila Prabhupada had personally come. And so when they landed at the airport, London airport, so Srila Prabhupada's other luggage had come, but Srila Prabhupada's big bag, Srila Prabhupada would carry a huge bag weighing 35 kilos. It contained this big book containing the acharyas of previous commentary, the commentaries of previous acharyas, which Srila Prabhupada would refer to while giving his commentaries. So it was a huge book. And so that bag weighed 35 kilos. This bag did not come. So the airport official said, somebody will have to wait, it will come in some time. So then Indradum Maharaj says, at that point of time, he went and hid behind a pillar so that Srila Prabhupada would not see him. But what to do? Srila Prabhupada was looking around and he happened to see Indradum Maharaj. And Srila Prabhupada said, Indradumna can wait. What to do? Order of the spiritual master. So he had to wait. Srila Prabhupada with other devotees, they left. And he was waiting for the bag, and the bag came after 2 long hours. And so not only was the event very special, it was special because first of all, Srila Prabhupada was there, and Srila Prabhupada was going to speak. And it was also special for one other reason, because on this occasion there was going to be a grand feast cooked by one of the world's best cooks at that time. Who? Yamuna Mataji. So it was really a special event. But now the bag came after 2 hours, and Indra Maharaj was thinking, now everything will be finished. So he was very disappointed, sort of morose. And anyway, he took the bag, he called a cab, he put the bag in the cab, and even the cab driver commented, "What's wrong with you today?" So he says, even the cab driver said, "Seems you have got up from the wrong side of the bed today." So in any case, so he reached the temple, and those days temple did not have any lifts. Srila Prabhupada's room was on the top floor, third or fourth floor of that building. So he reached there. Obviously, the program was finished. Srila Prabhupada's lecture was finished, and he was thinking, hopefully, at least some prasad will be remaining. And so he went to the brahmachari ashram, and he saw all the brahmacharis peacefully lying down on their left side. And so he went and asked one of them, "So is there any prasad remaining?" And they said, "Sorry, nothing. Everything finished." So he was really very disappointed. And so this huge bag, now he had to take it to the top floor. So he could not lift it, so he was dragging it up the stairs. Something is heavy, then one tends to drag it, right? So he was dragging it up the stairs. That means he was walking behind and dragging the bag. And so in that way, he reached the top floor. And then when he reached the top floor, Prabhupada's room is there. So he was still dragging the bag behind. And he entered into Prabhupada's room. And as soon as he entered into Prabhupada's room, so he is still walking behind. So immediately, Srila Prabhupada's personal servant, Nandakumar Prabhu, at that time, he immediately said, "Stop! See who's behind." And so he immediately turned behind, and there he saw Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada had just taken his massage. He was in his gamcha, and he was massaged with sandalwood oil. So he was smelling this amazing fragrance of sandalwood oil. And Srila Prabhupada was brilliant, effulgent. And so immediately Indra Maharaj offered his full dandavats in front of Srila Prabhupada. And as he was getting up, Srila Prabhupada lovingly slapped him on his back. And then what Srila Prabhupada spoke was very amazing and very instructive. And he said, so much trouble in this material world, so much inconvenience in this material world. But when I take you back to the spiritual worlds, everything will become easy and sublime. So that's the blessing of the spiritual master when one performs service and takes inconvenience on behalf of the spiritual master. And so therefore, that's the important lesson to learn. So yes, there could be a lot of inconvenience in serving the spiritual master here. But if one goes through that, then the spiritual master himself will take one to the spiritual worlds. So that is what is required. And therefore, this is the eternal principle of spiritual life. And that is, one has to serve the instructions of the spiritual master, the acharya. And that is the only way by which one can Vritrasura is also praying for. He's praying to receive the dust from the lotus feet of great devotees. Of course, Narad Muni is not in the verse actually. This is Prabhupada's translation. So Prabhupada is giving an example of Manasvinam, great sages like Narad Muni. So of course, we are coming in the parampara of Narad Muni. So for whatever reason we don't know, but Srila Prabhupada is remembering Narad Muni at this point of time and is giving him as an example of Manasvinam. Of course, yes, Chitraketu God Association of Narad Muni. So maybe Prabhupada is doing all these translations, so that will come in the next chapter, next few chapters, but he's remembering that. Okay. So somebody had some question or yes.
This is regarding about spiritual masters neglecting spiritual master and not receiving the benedictions or blessings from spiritual master. So we had one devotee, we are discussing about Ritvik devotees. Though the whole system is they're neglecting spiritual master, but they apparently seeing given many kind of facilities by Krishna, and also they are trying to help in terms of living entities to give the holy name, at least trying to distribute Prabhupada books, etc. So is there any consideration from Krishna's side? So though definitely it's a Guru Aparad in sense of not recognizing Guru and rejecting Guru, but they are trying to do something for Prabhupada. So what kind of consideration? Because Krishna is always there to, in terms of Vrindavan Leela, he's seeing demons attacking Vrindavanvasis, trying to even killed by the Kaliya. They died almost, such an offense. But still Krishna is seeing even demons also there's some good quality and trying to give some kind of benedictions and blessings. So how to understand this part, what they do in terms of giving the Krishna to others?
Of course, we were discussing this yesterday also. So exactly how Krishna will reciprocate with them, that's hard to say. As Bhishma Dev says, very difficult to understand what's the plan of the Lord. So that is not possible for us to understand. But in any case, what we have to understand is that simply external successes should not be taken as the symptom of real success. This is a very common question asked. So many devotees ask this question. It apparently appears that they're very successful in terms of money, in terms of reputation, in terms of buildings, in terms of followers, in terms of winning a court case. So there seem to be a lot of apparent successes. But then what's real success? That has to be defined in accordance to what Shastra says. And what does Shastra say? What is real success? Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. That is real success. So, as far as all these external successes are concerned, there's nothing great about it. Even materialists are having all these so-called successes. Aren't the materialists collecting money? Aren't they building buildings, constructing buildings? Aren't they becoming famous? There's even materialistic people get all these things based upon some punya. Nothing big, nothing great about it. But the ultimate success on the spiritual path has to be judged in terms of whether Guru and Krishna are pleased. That is ultimate success. So therefore, these external manifestations can never by themselves. External manifestations by themselves cannot be taken as the criteria for real success on the spiritual. As Srila Prabhupada also explains, all material opulences are to be considered zero. What is important is one. If the one is not there, then everything is zero. And any number of zeros, million zeros, what's the value? It's still zero. That's spiritual perspective. Then there's nothing to be impressed about it. With all those zeros, nothing to be impressed. So even within our society, sometimes devotees are running after those zeros. Not understanding the true criteria and the true understanding of what is real success. So therefore, if one has pleased Krishna, then as there are verses where it's clearly said, if one has pleased Krishna, then what can one not achieve? Then getting these zeros is insignificant because everything follows like shadow. Prabhupada often quote, Mukti Muklitanjali Sevate Asmi. Even Mukti stands at the doorstep of a devotee. What to speak of anything else? So therefore, these material things are very easy to get. If Krishna wants, he can give. He gave to Sudama. How much? Even more wealth than even Indra had. That much wealth he gave Sudama. So what's difficult for a devotee? On the material platform, insignificant. Therefore, the only thing which a devotee strives for is Samsiddhir Haritosha. Am I pleasing Guru and Krishna? That's the only concern for it. All right. Okay. Anybody else has any questions so far on the discussion? Okay. Okay, let's recite text 19. Suresha kasman nahinoshi vajram purastite vairinimaya mogham ma samshayishtha nagadeva vajraha Syanishvala kripanarthi yachna.
O King of the demigods, since I, your enemy, am standing before you, why don't you hurl your thunderbolt at me? Although your attack upon me with your club was certainly useless, like a request of money from a miser, the thunderbolt you carry will not be useless. You need have no doubts about this.
Okay, you can read the purport.
When King Indra threw his club at Vritrasur, Vritrasur caught it in his left hand and retaliated by using it to strike the head of Indra's elephant. Thus, Indra's attack was a disastrous failure. Indeed, Indra's elephant was injured and thrown back 14 yards. Therefore, even though Indra stood with the thunderbolt to hurl against Vritrasur, he was doubtful, thinking that the thunderbolt might also fail. Vritrasur, however, being a Vaishnava, assured Indra that the thunderbolt would not fail, for Vritrasur knew that it had been prepared in accordance with the instructions of Lord Vishnu. Although Indra had doubts because he could not understand that Lord Vishnu's order never fails, Vritrasur understood Lord Vishnu's purpose. Vritrasur was eager to be killed by the thunderbolt manufactured according to Lord Vishnu's instructions, because he was sure that he would thus return home back to Godhead. He was simply waiting for the opportunity of the thunderbolts being released. In effect, therefore, Vritrasur told Indra, if you want to kill me, since I am your enemy, take this opportunity, kill me. You will gain victory and I shall go back to Godhead. Your deed will be equally beneficial for both of us. Do it immediately.
So Srila Prabhupada is nicely paraphrasing Vritrasur's words. So you can see Vritrasu's desperation to be killed by Indra, and therefore is giving analogy of Kripana Artha Iva Yach. So just like a miser, so how desperate a miser is to get money. So of course he does not know how to spend it, but at least he is very desperate to get money. So saying just like a miser is desperate to get money and he requests for money, so similarly, you kill me. So Vritrasura is desperate to be killed by the Vajra of Indra. And so the important point here, which Srila Prabhupada is focusing on here, is the faith of Vritrasura in the Vajra. Why? Because Lord Vishnu had given assurance that this Vajra will 100% kill Vritrasura. That's what he told Indra. But now we find Indra does not have so much faith. Indra is thinking just like my club failed, similarly this Vajra also may fail. He does not have faith. But you can see Vritrasura has full faith because those are the words of Vishnu. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tada guru tasyeta katita artha prakashanti mahatmana. So when one has that full faith in the words of the Lord and the spiritual master, yatha deve tatha guru, same faith. When one has that full faith, then all the imports of the Vedic knowledge will be revealed to such a devotee. So therefore, that faith is very fundamental to our progress in devotional service. So everything is based on faith. So as we know, the classification of devotees into Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttam is based on faith and knowledge. But faith is very important. And so as we were discussing in the previous discussions also, that everything about the Lord may not be easily understood because so many things are inconceivable. But still, one needs to have faith. Now we all know, I am sure most of us know, the pastime of Purushottam and the moon landing issue. Right? Everyone knows, right? So Purushottam, when Srila Prabhupada was very emphatically and boldly saying they never went on the moon, Purushottam didn't have faith in the words of his spiritual master. He was trying to argue, no, they're showing on the television, it's in newspapers, it's everywhere. But Srila Prabhupada, on the basis of Shastra, Srila Prabhupada had that faith. No, it's not possible. Unless one is qualified, one cannot go. And of course, Srila Prabhupada was sort of joking. You know that pastime. There was some explosion in the kitchen and Purushottam went and his face became black. And then he came back and then Srila Prabhupada said, maybe he went on the moon. So Prabhupada was joking and he was getting angry. But in any case, the result was he left. So there is also the incident of how one Srila Prabhupada in his lecture was speaking about giant eagle birds. We read in the 5th canto. Giant eagle birds which fly from one planet to another. And they pick up elephants and eat and lay eggs in space. And the eggs hatch in space. Very inconceivable. Of course, whole fifth canto, so many inconceivable things in the cosmology section. And so when Srila Prabhupada spoke about that, and so at the end, when Srila Prabhupada asked for questions, one devotee asked, Srila Prabhupada, you spoke about these giant eagle birds. Do they exist? Do they exist? And Srila Prabhupada, in that particular instance, gave quite an amazing answer. Srila Prabhupada said, what do you know? You're still within the womb of your mother. That means you're a kid. What can you understand? So that is our situation. Srila Prabhupada says, you cannot even understand all the stars in the sky. This is material world, one universe. Even that much we cannot understand. And then what can we expect to understand beyond the material worlds? One universe we can't understand. And how many universes are there? Unlimited. So what is our capacity to understand? And yet sometimes we think, oh, we should be able to figure out everything, understand everything. And if I'm not able to figure out, then I cannot have faith. Therefore, humility is so important. So when one is humble, then one will accept, what can I understand? If I don't understand something, well, why should I even expect to understand everything? So therefore, faith is very important. Also, of course, we know the well-known story which Srila Prabhupada told about the Brahman and the cobbler. We all know that story. Faith. So therefore, it is said, faith can move mountains. It's an English saying coming from materialistic people. But then as we know, what is, as devotees, what do we say? Yat kripa tamaham vande. उसके पहले क्या है? Mukam karoti vajalam pangum langaite girim yat kripa tamaham vande. So if one has mercy of the spiritual master, then even a lame man can cross mountains and even a dumb person can speak poetry. That is the miracle that can happen if one has faith in what? The words of the spiritual master. And the best proof for this is Srila Prabhupada himself. We just read that, right? You can see how much faith Srila Prabhupada has in the instructions of his spiritual master. And because of that, miracles took place. Many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples say that in Srila Prabhupada's presence, we could practically see miracles every day. So once in Mayapur, His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj was giving class in front of Radha Madhav altar. So as you know, when senior sannyasis give class, usually the English class is down, not in the Panchatattva. So anyway, Maharaj was giving class, and as we know, Maharaj takes a lot of questions. So he took a lot of questions, and then he was almost about to end. One final question, and one new man raised hand. And this new person, he asked Maharaj, so Swamiji, do some miracle, some magic take place in your movement? Something like that he asked. And we know marriage is way of answering questions. So you know what Maharaj told him? Maharaj told him, just turn around. That's all what Maharaj said. He said, just turn around and see. So you imagine, here is the Vyasasan, here is Radha Madhav altar, and this is temple hall, here is Prabhupada. So on the other side, if one turns around, what is there? Beyond that, TOVP. That is what you can see, the huge TOVP. And that is what Maharaj was referring to. That's the miracle. So by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, miracles are still happening. And right from 26 Second Avenue, the miracles have been happening. Of course, we can speak so much on these miracles. But just to name a few. Now, right in 26 Second Avenue, in those days when Srila Prabhupada was dictating in the dictaphone, and then after dictation, they had to be transcribed, correct? Transcribed means somebody has to hear and type, and then they'll produce the book. So, so these early days, he had given that service to Gaur Sundar Prabhu. Prabhupada disciple, he passed away recently. So, so in any case, he gave some other service. Actually, there are two instances in connection to this. So in any case, so Prabhupada gave him some other service, and so they were looking for some other person to do the typing. At that point of time, nobody knew typing. Nobody else knew. And so they were looking for someone. And then one day, all of a sudden, one young boy comes over there. And so he asked the devotees, so I'm on a vacation for 6 months. I'm on vacation from college for 6 months. And I heard you people are doing some good work here. So do you have some work for me? And so the devotees ask him, so do you know typing? And the boy says, yes. Problem solved. So the boy did typing. So like that, so many miracles devotees were seeing. And you know the Macmillan story? The Bhagavad Gita, how the Bhagavad Gita was published, Macmillan. Srila Prabhupada told Brahmanand Prabhu, you take the, you go and tell them, my spiritual master has written Bhagavad Gita, and they will publish it. Brahmanand Prabhu was surprised. What is this confidence of the Swamiji? He says, they will publish it. But then that's what happened. Brahmanand Prabhu went there. He basically went to hand over the album, songs, bhajans album happening, and met the CEO. And then he asked him, he told him, our spiritual master has written Bhagavad Gita, would you like to publish it? And that man was in great happiness. He said, we have published so many religious books, we were waiting for Bhagavad Gita. Immediately next day, Prabhupada went personally, handed over the manuscripts. That's how it was published. We all know the $19,000 for Krishna book. George Harrison, just the power went off. And when these few seconds, what miracle happened, only Krishna knows. As soon as the power came back, check is yours. Like that. Now, in connection to that Krishna book, so before the publishing of the Krishna book, the painters had to paint drawings for the Krishna book. But the problem was, none of these devotees had ever heard of Krishna's pastimes. They never heard. Krishna book is yet to come out. They don't know the pastimes. Now you think about it, for a painting, so many details of the pastimes are required. Then only one can paint. Now, painting requires a lot of details. So, but Srila Prabhupada told them so many paintings, there's an exact number also, I'm forgetting. Prabhupada had given them so many paintings had to be done for Krishna book. Rameshwar Prabhu actually says that the number of paintings now have been reduced. Initially, the Krishna book was in 2 volumes and the paintings were much more. So, so now the painters, they told Srila Prabhupada, we don't know anything about these pastimes. We cannot figure out how to do the paintings. So then Srila Prabhupada gave a short write-up of each pastime and gave it to them in brief about the pastime. So they read that, still they said, Srila Prabhupada, we can't understand how to do the painting. Then Srila Prabhupada gave sketch diagrams, line diagrams. Line diagrams. Just a brief sketch of that painting. They said, we cannot understand that also. Finally, Srila Prabhupada told them, next time when you sit in front of the canvas to paint, you chant the holy names and you pray to the Lord. My spiritual master has given this instruction. Please give me the intelligence to do this. But these devotees had full faith in Prabhupada's instruction. And because they had full faith, they did exactly that. They simply prayed. And the result was, all these painters, they share a common realization. This is all recorded. If you go to, if you see, every year they have a Prabhupada festival at Los Angeles. And they invite different Prabhupada disciples and they share their realizations. So one year they had invited all the BBT devotees. And so all these painters and all those who worked in the BBT, those days they were called. So if you want, you can see that. So all these painters, they share one realization. And they all say, we only held the brush and somebody else moved the hand. They all have the same realization. We did not do those paintings. That is mercy that flows. But then we can see those paintings in Krishna book of Krishna's pastimes, how famous they are. How beautiful. Even outside people, they use those paintings. And they were done by devotees who did not know much about Krishna. But still, because they had faith in Srila Prabhupada and they followed his instruction, miracle happens. So because Srila Prabhupada had faith in the instruction of his spiritual master, and Srila Prabhupada's disciples had faith in Srila Prabhupada, therefore out of that faith, on the foundation of that faith, this entire movement has manifested. And it's all a miracle on the basis of that faith in the instructions of spiritual master. So Rameshwar Prabhu shares one pastime in that connection. So this happened during the CC marathon. We all know the CC marathon, where Srila Prabhupada told Rameshwar Prabhu and his assistant Radha Vallabh Prabhu, the entire CC must be brought out in 2 months. Rameshwar Prabhu was saying, previously we were bringing out 1 volume in 2 months. Now we have increased the speed to 1 volume in 1 month. After the press was shifted from Boston to Los Angeles. So, and then Srila Prabhupada was calculating 1 volume, 1 month. 17 volumes means 17 months. Too slow. 2 months. Just imagine, where is 17 months and where is 2 months? And what Srila Prabhupada said? Rameshwar Prabhu said, impossible. And Srila Prabhupada said, word in the fool's dictionary. So Rameshwar Prabhu shares, at that point of time, Rameshwar Prabhu and Radha Vallabh Prabhu's assistant, both of them stood like statues. They were stunned by this instruction. And Srila Prabhupada, along with other devotees, they went ahead. Morning walk was going on. They went ahead. These 2 devotees stood. And then Rameshwar Prabhu began meditating on what Srila Prabhupada said. And he thought, if I say impossible, that means something is impossible even for Krishna. But how can there be anything impossible for Krishna? That was what he thought. So when he thought in that way, as Rameshwar Prabhu himself says, when he thought in that way, all of a sudden so many ideas began to enter his mind as to how the instruction can be fulfilled. And then immediately they both went back to the temple. They had a meeting with all the devotees, BBT devotees, and immediately chalked out plans. In any case, so of course they worked day and night. And in connection to the artist, so what was happening was, so one artist would begin a painting, and then when he would be tired at night, he would fall asleep right over there in front of the painting. And then Rameshwar Prabhu was coordinating the whole thing. He was organizing the whole thing. So when he would see one painter asleep, he would see that another painter is awake. He would tell him to complete the painting. That is how they were working day and night. Then only it was possible. But usually, painters don't like that. Natural tendency, they don't want to share credit, isn't it? So they would like to, because they have their own idea of how to do the painting. So they want to complete the painting. But because that was the situation, so this was what Rameshwar Prabhu was doing. So there was one painter, he's still there, Pushkar Prabhu, one of the very famous painters. You can see his signature on many of those paintings. So Rameshwar Prabhu did like this with Pushkar Prabhu one night. And so the next morning, when Rameshwar Prabhu came to his office, he saw this Pushkar Prabhu. So young, strong American. So he saw him coming to his cabin. His eyes were red. And Rameshwar Prabhu immediately understood what's the cause. So he understood, last night, somebody else finished his painting. And he is wild So he's coming with eyes red, his fist clenched. And Ramesh Prabhu was getting ready for the outcome. He was preparing himself for what is going to happen now. So in that state of great anger, this Pushkar Prabhu came into his room and he was going to smash his face with his fist. But just as he was about to do it, something happened all of a sudden. And instead of the hand going towards the face, it went towards the feet. And this Pushkar Prabhu offered his obeisances to Rameshwar Prabhu. And then both Rameshwar Prabhu and Pushkar Prabhu stood up. They embraced and simply cried. Because both of them understood what is required for the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So inspired by Paramatma and Srila Prabhupada from within, the miracle took place. The transformation took place. All the anger subsided because Srila Prabhupada inspired him from within about what is the mission they are working for. So like that, so many amazing miracles have taken place within our society. And that's the reason why the society has expanded and is functioning, because of the mercy that is flowing right from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is flowing down the parampara of sincere devotees, because it is Srila Prabhupada's great faith in the instructions of his spiritual master, and disciples down the line having faith in their spiritual master. Therefore, everything is manifesting. And therefore, that faith is something which is foundational to one's spiritual practices. And that is what Srila Prabhupada is talking about here. So Vritrasur had that faith in the words of Vishnu. Indra failed to have. And therefore, ultimately, who was successful? Vritrasur. So, and how can one develop that faith? Yes. How can one develop that faith? There's only one word which all Shastras agree on: association. Srila Prabhupada has written this in the purport to Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 3rd verse. What is 9th chapter, 3rd verse? Ashraddhana purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapyamam nivartante mrityu samsara vartmani. So there, Lord Krishna is speaking about one of the qualifications required to understand the Bhagavad Gita, and that is Shraddha. And if one does not have Shraddha, what is the result? Krishna is explaining. In that purport, you can see right in the first paragraph, Prabhupada is writing that faith develops by association. We associate with those who have faith, one develops faith. That is the only way. This is something which all the Shastras speak about. And therefore, one needs to associate. That means hear and serve those who have faith. And therefore, it is very important for us. And that is what we see. How do the disciples of Srila Prabhupada develop so much faith? It's not that they understood much of philosophy, but they were ready to give up their lives. How did they develop so much faith? By associating with Srila Prabhupada. And therefore, associating with Srila Prabhupada through his words, in his books, in his lectures, that association, and associating with the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, the followers of Srila Prabhupada who have that similar faith, then when we associate with such devotees, then we can also develop that faith. And that is how we can progress. Okay, so these are some important points in this discussion. So we'll continue with Rasu's teachings, very, very important. So we'll continue our discussions tomorrow. Thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Hare Hare Krishna.